Sometimes there's this meeting of minds, and when this happens, I kind of feel good. Whenever you meet someone or you're listening to someone who shares your worldview, something resonates and it feels good. You know, it means you're kind of not alone with this worldview. It's a good feeling. So even though I never met anyone that I listen to, I never met anyone that I read, I feel like I'm talking or I'm in the same room whenever I'm reading or listening to them. I feel like I'm in the same room. So that's how I imagine it myself. And even I answer or talk to myself during those podcasts or interviews or whatever. It feels like I'm there. I know it's weird, but or it's not weird. I don't know. I always had this you know wild imagination. It's probably the reason why I am the way I am is because of my imagination. Anyway, I was listening to this doctor out of Africa. They live in Europe now, probably where they studied, and they were specialized in cancer treatment, cancer research, etc. So this doctor kind of came to the same conclusions as I. They were saying medicine, pharmaceuticals nowadays is it's a business. It exists to please the board members. It exists to please the investors. It has nothing to do with helping or healing patients. It's a business, and it's also me also adding a little bit, to the discussion. It is also intimately tied with law. Everything they do has to be in terms, of escaping accountability. Everything they do, and if not, they invent new ways of avoiding accountability. So everything is in the realm of liability. They can't act otherwise. So this doctor was saying that some 100 years ago, El Cancer was an environmental disposition. It manifested in people who were, exposed to certain conditions. It was environmental. So if you worked in a mine, in an industrial, highly toxic, place, your body would react to the chemicals, would react to the situations. Also, types of food that you would, consume, it also reacts to it. Uh, for instance, carbohydrates, excess carbohydrates causes the body to malfunction and to, for instance, go into diabetes and etc. And El Cancer is known to, crave sugar. It grows exponentially with the presence of sugar. So this doctor was saying that some 100 years ago it was considered environmental until they switched the script around, and it has to do with law. You say it has to do with accountability. I think back then companies started becoming, accountable for their workers. That's when syndicates start pushing for better conditions. Syndicates start pushing for better salary, less working hours, vacations, more protection, healthcare, all those things, and they were being held accountable for the toxicity of the environment that people worked. You know, some 100, 200 years ago, they saw people as expendable. They didn't care. If you look, they didn't care. Into the past, there was big families, and from father to son to grandson, they all worked in the same place, mine area, extracting coal or whatever, working in some factory or whatever. And They lived in slums, because they couldn't afford anything better, and they had a very short, lifespan. And this passed from father to son, and from son to grandson. Uh, so they saw people like, as expendable. They couldn't care less. So when things started changing, syndicates start pushing for better things and stuff. They had to flip the script on this Alcancer thing. It wasn't environmental anymore. With the help of the movement of eugenics, they flipped the script and they said, it's not the conditions, it's not the terrain. No, it's you. It's your genes, your RNA, your DNA that just doesn't work correctly. And if you have all these diseases, it's because of that. It's because of you. It's hereditary, they said. It's your fault. They often do these things, flip the script around and blame the customer, blame the consumer, blame the people. This is a traditional tactic of a narcissist. If you pay attention, narcissists and psychopaths, they don't or never will accept liability, accountability for anything they do. In fact, they will accuse you of the things that they are guilty of. They will always flip the things around, trying to blame it on you. They did it with Alcancer, they did it with plastic, they do it every single day with everything. Oh, no, it's actually the fault of the customer. The reason why they forced schools, into the population, they wanted you to have the ability to read what's in the box. That's the only thing. Why? Liability. They wanted you to read, this has these many calories. So if you eat this, it will not make you fat. But if you eat more than this, it will. You see, liability, even though calories don't exist. But they invented the whole thing. It's a system of measure, just to bullshit people. They wanted you to read so you could follow instructions, right? How to operate machines, to do basic things. School is not, to think. School is to follow orders, become, a little bit literate, to just, understand the instructions in the box. Why? Liability, to protect them from being persecuted. So they flip the script on this thing with the help of the eugenic movement. It's not us, it's you. Your genes are bad. That's why. So I never bought this eugenics thing. I think it's pseudoscience. I also never bought this DNA thing. I never bought it. Or that humans have decoded the genome or of humanity or whatever. No, that's all pseudoscience. Echo chamber bullshit to bamboozle everybody. So from what I've heard, this is I'm not a scientist or a specialist in anything. This is just hearsay, gossip. This is not educational. This is just entertainment, all right? Don't believe anything I say. So not only they were talking about Alcancer and how they flipped the script on people, they were also talking about soil depletion, and my sheep are joining me here. Thanks for the noise. Doing, 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 doing. We put the bells so we can know where they are. So soil depletion is another big thing. Diseases that this doctor was saying, diseases that we thought was extinct some 300 years ago, are now resurfacing. What? Diseases? Yeah. Certain diseases we thought extinct are resurfacing. In the past, we suffered from overpopulation, and there wasn't just enough for people to go about, and there was some families who was, less rich and, suffering from poverty and malnutrition. They developed all sorts of physical and mental disorders. We thought of these things extinct in this past 100 years because of the obvious technical, advancements and the introduction of the birth control, we are way more less than we used to be. So there's more plenty, should I say. There's more plenty. But a thing that is missing is nutrition. What? Um, shh, shh, go away, go away. Even though there's plenty to go about, they've convinced the population, which is not a very hard thing to do, with a nice publicity of a naked girl, half naked at least, blah, 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 talking about things. People just buy it. So there's this, idea of low fat diets and high on carbs, or preferably vegetarian. So there's a chunk of the population, going high carb, almost vegetarian. And when they go that route, it's almost like eating out of depleted soils, something that, used to attain us in the past. And it's still a thing nowadays, depleted soils. With the over, extraction of agriculture, the soils are depleted. The industrial, scale. Um, the diseases they thought was extinct have made a comeback because of malnutrition, dispositions of the body and dispositions of the mind. Because schizophrenia was known as the bread disease. When you ate too much bread, it kind of messed with your perceptions. Yeah, bread and salt. That was the diet of many of these martyrs of religion. Yeah, they went completely crazy on bread and salt and became martyrs for the religion. And similar nowadays, people are going on these low fat, high carb, almost vegan, diets, and they come at the other end completely mental, full of disorders, physical and mental. I mean, a thing that used to be of the past is now made a return. It's crazy, right? And again, no one is held accountable for these things. Everybody is perfectly protected. You know, there's no jurisdiction here. Anyway, I think I'm gonna shut up. Have a nice day.